Okay guys, we are live on Facebook, which is awesome. Let me just get the Instagram going as well. Had some technical difficulties this morning. I was hoping to stream to our business page as well and on Instagram, but as usual, I'm running late, so I apologize. I'm going to be with you guys very shortly. Let's just get everything set up. I'll give a couple of minutes to let some people jump on. Feel free to ask any questions that you've got, anything, any areas that have been holding you back in your business, in your marketing, struggles that have been holding you back from growing or lead generation, anything like that. Really keen to, get those questions answered for you and give you as much help and value as possible to really start taking your business to the next level. So it looks like we are live on Instagram as well now, which is awesome. So I'll be uploading the replay to this to all of our socials across LinkedIn, YouTube. It'll be going on the business pages as well, because right now I'm streaming on Facebook from my personal profile. So let me just pull up. I've had a few questions come in, but feel free to ask any questions if you have any. As and when you jump in. So if you've got any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments as well. If you're live with me now, make sure you hashtag team live to let me know you're watching live. And if you're watching the replay, just hashtag team replay so I know where you're tuning in from as well. Let me know what town, city, country you're tuning in from. Let's just pull up a few questions here. I've got a few questions scheduled, but feel free to drop any in as and when. So, okay, here we go. So I've been really looking forward to doing this for a long time now. This is something I've been really keen on doing for a while. And it was actually a chap called Richard, who I'm connected with on LinkedIn. If you're watching this, Richard, thank you. He's kind of been my motivation to actually getting this done. I had a lot of procrastination around it, let's say, and over planning syndrome kicked in with getting this live done. But again, ultimately, it just comes down to taking action, taking the first step. And I'm really keen to start bringing you guys as much value as I possibly can. And I apologize if you're watching on LinkedIn on Instagram right now, because you can only see the side of my face. But I'll be uploading the full video, the Facebook stream, to all channels. So to kick off, firstly, Brendan, a good friend of mine who I met at a networking event recently, was asking, would love to know more about the different approaches of organic growth and paid ads, and what the probs and cons. Okay, so I'm guessing that's pros and cons, unless you're just being really pessimistic, Brendan. The pros and cons are where is each appropriate. Okay, so yeah, I mean, organic versus paid, it's that kind of age-old question, right? And I think it's worth bearing in mind with any strategy, any marketing strategy you take, there is always going to be an element of risk, right? And that's something to just get out there from the get-go. The main thing I would say to consider is going to be resources. What kind of resources have you got to begin with? Generally speaking, paid advertising will allow you to get much more traffic much quicker to your website. That doesn't mean you are going to get results. And this is the thing with paid advertising, is that it can often take a very long time to build up traction and to really find the targeting, the audience types that really works. Because it's one thing getting, let's say, for example, you're running a paid ad to drive traffic to your website, your landing page, your course, your offer, whatever it might be. Just because you're getting a lot of clicks on your landing page, it doesn't necessarily mean that's going to convert. And it's one thing, again, converting somebody into a lead and getting their email address, but it's another thing then converting them into a sale. And this is something that's going to take time to evaluate, right? To really look at the overall profitability of a campaign. And it's just not something you can predict from the offset. So it's inevitable that you are going to have to spend money, time, and resources on either of these strategies. So if we look now at, some more organic approaches, and there's several out here, so I'm going to be careful not to spend too much time on this question. But, as an idea, one of the big things at the moment is community building and groups, because as you've probably noticed, if you run a Facebook page or any page for that matter, Instagram, LinkedIn pages, the organic reach is declining because platforms such as Facebook and Instagram, they want to drive businesses and brands to start running paid ads. So the organic reach potential is just going down year on year unless you can build up a very, very engaged audience. And the best way to do that is through leveraging communities and groups. So starting a group, and this is going to be a big investment. It's not something to be underestimated. It's going to take time, and you're going to have to invest a lot of that in keeping the momentum of that group alive. Like everybody that I've spoken to who has run or runs a successful group has talked about how much time needs to go into it. We don't personally have one. It's something we've got on the radar, but I've seen a lot of people do this with great success, but it does take a lot of time. You need to be going and you need to be engaging with people. And a lot of the time to begin with, it really will take reaching out to people manually, like literally messaging people. Messaging every single member of your group, asking them to, engage, asking if they've got any questions, prompting people, and you have to be consistent with posting. And, it's almost taking that leadership role, right? Getting people to take action, encouraging them to share and making them or helping them to see the value in that sharing. So that can be an incredible strategy for organic growth if you can build a really passionate community, because what happens is the more engagement you then get from that group, that sends signals to the algorithms behind all the social media platforms, and it will allow them to kind of organically boost your content, and you'll naturally start getting more followers, and real followers, most importantly, people who are genuinely interested in what you're doing. And over time, it can kind of cause a ripple effect, so that's a way to grow it out organically. But the caveat is it's by no means easy. It does take time, and it takes a lot of rejection as well, like, I'll be honest with you, it's one of the reasons I was procrastinating about doing these. And right now we have 0 live viewers. And this is always, I think, the stumbling block that stops people with a lot of this. It's, what if nobody likes my content? What if nobody watches it? That's what stops people. But you'll see a pattern here. From all the clients we've worked with, there's a clear, consistent pattern amongst the ones that stand out and the ones that succeed. And that's they are consistent, and they fail, and they push through that. They push through those doubts and those fears of looking stupid, and they understand it's going to take time to build that up, and it's also going to take hard work. To begin with, it's going to take messaging people, it's going to take reaching out to people one-on-one, starting and prompting these engagements and these conversations. So it's being aware of that, because I think otherwise it's very easy to get disheartened by things like this. So yeah, it's really important just to be aware of that, and to ensure you're doing it for the right reasons. Like keep an eye on why you're doing it, and don't focus too much on getting caught up about the numbers and who's watching and who's not watching, things like that. So the other main organic channel is going to be SEO. Now, SEO will involve quite a heavy content strategy. Again, this is going to be a big time commitment. People usually see this as the alternative if they haven't got much money. To really do SEO properly, you need to have If you don't have a team who can help you with this, you're going to have to put out an inordinate amount of content and quality content as well. It's going to take research. It's going to take, understanding how the algorithm works and picks things up. I think sometimes it's worth saying as well that people can get a bit overwhelmed and carried away when it comes to SEO because there's so many factors that go, Google's constantly doing updates to the algorithm, and there's 200 plus factors that go into ranking a website and things like that. And it can become very daunting. The trend that's happening at the moment and will continue to happen throughout 2020, Google are on a real mission to optimize the user experience, right? And to make it to make the overall user experience as seamless, as easy, and as value-driven as possible. So how easy is it for the searcher to get the answer that they want? And how seamless is it? If they're going through to a website, how easy is it to navigate? If for example your blog mentions about something else, are there links, are there internal links on your website that make it very, very easy to navigate? These are all the things that Google considers when it comes to ranking a website. And it's really important to be mindful of that, because otherwise what you'll find is that you just won't be able to rank organically. And that's the main kind of takeaway with SEO. Again, it's easy to get caught up in all these, there's so many different ranking factors. How do I stay on top of it? As long as you are making the user experience as seamless and as easy and as effortless for people as possible, that is going to be a big thumbs up for Google. The other big factor that comes into SEO is going to be the links to your site and the quality of those links. A lot of the time, this takes a lot of manual outreach. It can take reaching out to media sites, publications, other authority bloggers in your industry and asking, again, it comes down to that hard work, right? You need to reach out to people manually to begin with and ask them, would you mind linking to my website? I did this article recently. I saw you were linking to similar content. I'd love it if you'd link to mine. And again, make sure it's not just an ask. The best tip I can give with outreach is don't just make it about you. Show them that you're giving something for them. So as an example here, it would be to say something to these people like, hey, I've got this piece of content. I thought it would be really valuable for your viewers to check this out. Right? So you're making it about them as well. You're making it about their audience. It's not just about you, because the worst thing you can do is approach one of these influencers, bloggers, or media outlets and say, hey, I've got this amazing piece of content, could you share it for me? It'd really help me out. What's in it for them? Okay, so that's a really important thing to focus on when you're doing any kind of outreach, is what is in it for that person? Is it going to help their audience? Is your piece of content going to benefit their audience? And if it is, a lot of the time they will be more than happy to share to it, but it's going to take work. And to begin with, it's going to take that manual outreach, that hard work. And over time, again, similar with the groups and the communities, it will cause a multiplication effect. When you're consistently putting out good content and people know you by that point, they will start organically sharing and the links to your website will grow. And over time, the SEO on your website will grow. So it's really important to be mindful of that. Hey, Ben, thanks for tuning in. Just seen you jumped in on Facebook there. Good to see you here. So yeah, I really hope that helps, Brendan. I hope that kind of gives you, at least some idea of the pros and cons to both. SEO is a very long-term strategy. It's going to take time and it's going to take a lot of hard manual work. PPC, on the other hand, you can get faster results, but it can be a potential money pit. And it's important to kind of bear in mind here that you're not going to be, rephrase that. It's very unlikely that you will be profitable straight away with running a PPC campaign. It might take a couple of weeks. It might take a couple of months. For some people, it takes years. It takes years of testing different messages, testing different audiences, different targeting to really get to a stage where you've got something that resonates with people. So, Brendan, I hope it helps. I hope it's given you a clearer idea. So another question I had here was, I want to make a YouTube channel, but I don't know what I should make my videos about. how can I set myself apart from most YouTubers but still find success? So one of the things that I would say to this is document the journey, right? Like if you don't know what to make videos about, make a video about not knowing what to make videos about, because I can promise you there will be millions of people that are in exactly the same situation as you, but don't say anything because they are too scared to say anything. And that is very often one of the most powerful things you can do in your marketing, is to speak an unspoken truth, right? And this is what comedians do really well. They speak to the things that people consider to be true, but they don't want to talk about because they're too ashamed or embarrassed to talk about it. It's one of the most powerful things you can do, and it's how you can really start to build up an audience because of your transparency, your authenticity. So if you can start doing that, you know, if you're in a place where you don't know what to make videos about, make a video about it. Make a video and say, I have no idea what to make content about. I really want to start up a successful YouTube channel, but I just don't know. You know, I'd love to hear from you guys. You know, let me know what you think. What are you struggling with? That's another important piece here with any channel, not just YouTube, but engaging with your community, right? Your community, any business, doesn't matter if you're an influencer, it doesn't matter if you run a multi-million-dollar brand. Your community, your audience, your customers, everything, you need to make sure they are being engaged, because if you're not engaging with them, somebody else will be, and it's only a matter of time before you lose them to somebody else. So don't be afraid, and you know, see this happening with a lot of businesses. We've had the privilege now of working with everything from pre-revenue businesses to you know, 7-8 figure businesses in all different industries, and it's something that you see becomes quite common, is that, you know, it will get to a certain point where it's like, I've done my work now, you know, I'm taking a step back. You know, we've got customers coming in, happy days. If you get complacent for too long and don't continue to nurture, acknowledge and value your customers, they will leave to someone else. So don't ever get complacent. And, you know, it always, to begin with, it is going to take a very manual approach. As you start building things out, you can leverage things like live videos. You can leverage things like video as a whole, communities, groups, engagement. But when you're beginning, so if you're starting out with a YouTube channel or business, a Facebook page, Instagram, anything, community is key, and it's going to take something to engage with people. It's going to take one-on-one connections, messaging people, and really reaching out to people manually, right? So, yeah, that's really all I can say in that regard. In terms of setting yourself apart from others, that's just going to come down to being you. You know, it's the only thing you can do to set yourself apart, because this is the trap that people often fall into here, right? They can spend so much time trying to be different that they no longer are themselves, and they're just kind of becoming some weird person, and it doesn't feel authentic. You know, people can always tell when somebody's being authentic. So it's really important to kind of hone into that, and just kind of be natural, be authentic with it. You know, again, if you don't know what to make videos about, make a video about not knowing what to make a video about, because it's such a powerful thing, because there will be so many people going through that same thing. So I hope that helps, and I hope that answers the question. Another one that I had here was, what's the most effective way to promote a podcast? Well, there's a number of different things you can do here. One of the most effective ways is to collaborate and partner, by far. You know, and this is just with business in general, right? Not just with podcasts. But if you can start not seeing your competition as competition, but seeing them as potential collaborators, it will open up a whole new world for you, because you will be able to tap into audiences that you hadn't yet tapped into before. And when you can really stay in your own lane, this is the thing, and I think more people are starting to realize this slowly, but if somebody isn't going to work with you because they don't like you, they're not going to work with you anyway, right? You're never going to, and you shouldn't ever want to please everyone, because what happens when you try and do that, you just become irrelevant, effectively, right? You just become noise because you're just, you know, you don't want to express any strong points of view, and you just become some bystander. You know, you have no voice, you have no opinion, you don't stand for anything, you're not offering anything to people. It's really important to polarize. But anyway, in terms of partnerships, that can really help. And you know, because you're able then to leverage other people's audiences around you. And again, the same tactic when you're approaching it, think about how it's going to benefit them. If you're approaching someone for a potential partnership or collaboration, talk about some content you've recently done. Talk about some realization or some finding you had that you think would be really valuable for their audience. And a lot of the time they will do it, you know. Same with us, if another marketing company approached us and they had some really unique ideas, hey, look, it's free content for us at the end of the day. And I know, and I have this level of awareness now that not everybody is going to like us. So hey, if we can tap into some of their audience and they can tap into some of our audience, happy days. It's a win-win all round. And you know, it's really, I think it's challenging for a lot of people because, you know, they like to play their cards close to their chest. But in the long run, that's never a strategy that's going to work. You know, people that play their cards close to their chest always lose in the long run. You need to be, and especially in this day and age, it may have worked in the past, but it doesn't work now. People really value genuine connection and authenticity. So it's so important that you are open about things like this. The other thing I'd say is promotion. Like, it's so important that you're promoting it. And this is a big failure that I had with doing this today. I didn't promote it enough at all. You know, I had a plan to do it and I failed on it, and I didn't do that. And it's so important, you know, every single day, several times a day, leverage Instagram stories, Facebook stories, tap into communities, go into forums, go into groups. Like whatever your podcast is about, whatever you're starting a podcast about, where could your potential audience be hanging out? And again, this comes down to when you're starting that manual work, the manual labor, and going out and speaking to people. Go into groups. Let's say you're doing a podcast about mindfulness. Go into mindfulness communities, join up to mindfulness groups, Google mindfulness and go into some forums, and manually respond to people's posts, comment on there. Give them value. Don't just say, hey, come check out my episode. Answer their questions, give your opinion on something, and then say, hey, I'm actually starting a podcast on this. Would love you to stop by and listen. I think you'd find a lot of value from it. Or, hey, I'd love for you to be a guest on my podcast. Things like that, you know, because what you need to bear in mind is when you're starting out, even if you have a guest that doesn't have an audience, you have then created, just by acknowledging that person, you have created a fan, like a real fan who is gonna go out and tell their friends, you know, say, hey, oh my God, I was on this person's podcast. They invited me on their podcast. It's so cool. They're going to tell their friends, they're going to tell their family, they're going to tell their colleagues. Don't underestimate that, especially when you're starting out. So yeah, just you know, constant, consistent promotion and that consistency and not giving up, you know, even when no one's listening, and to continue to kind of learn from that. But also, you know, don't be, when I say consistency, I don't mean blind consistency. Listen to people, watch what's happening. If there are certain things that are getting better responses than others, tune into that, you know, be aware of that. Don't just, you know, get kind of, you often see things where people get like passive aggressive, like, you know, doesn't matter, I don't care, no one's watching. You know, don't be blind to it. Don't be blind to signs and signals. If you see something's working better than others, lean into that. Ask the question, hey guys, what did you think about the last one? More of you were watching. What was it that caught your attention? Get those insights over time as you're doing things. That's something that will really help. So yeah, I hope that helps in terms of the podcast. Anyone that's thinking of starting a podcast, if you are running a podcast at the moment, and again, in relation to any of these questions, if you're watching right now and there's any opinions, suggestions, value you can bring to this conversation, please put it into the comments, let others know. Let's all help each other out, because we all have, you know, our own experiences and value that we can bring. So please, I implore you to join in, jump into this conversation, and you know, whatever value you can bring, add it in there because, you know, it could really help a lot of people. Okay, so got another question about SEO here. So is getting good quality backlinks essential for a new website with a good SEO score already? Now, I'm not entirely sure here what's meant by SEO score. I will assume maybe it's the domain authority, in which case, if it is, I mean, either way here, the thing to consider with backlinks, you will lose links over time. You know, so if somebody's linking to a website, that page might get taken down, they might remove that link, they might link to somebody else. Over time, you will lose links and your, you know, domain authority will drop. Google wants to know that you are still relevant. You know, you are contextually relevant. So, you know, it's all well and good building it up and doing loads initially. You can't just sit on that. It's an ongoing process because, again, they want the best experience for their users because it reflects on them as a company. You know, if the top search result on Google is a pile of crap website that brings no value to anyone and is just full of spam, it reflects bad on Google. You know, they're affecting the user experience. So that's why it's such a big thing. So it's important that you're, you know, being consistent. It's not one of those things where you can just say, oh, it's already got a good score, so I'm just going to relax now. What you'll find is it will get to a certain point where, you know, when you've got a certain amount of organic exposure, the links will start to come in naturally. You will start to earn links naturally, you know, as that content just gets syndicated by more and more people and gets shared by more and more people. But it's still not enough because your competitors are going to be hot on your tail. You know, they are going to be chasing you down. They're going to be on your case, and you know, you can't afford to get lazy or complacent with this. So yeah, don't let that kind of stop you. Even if you have got a good score, don't let it stop you from continuously adding value. And again, like, I don't know what your drivers are, right? But think about your own internal motivator. You know, is it the impact? Do you want to have an impact? If so, make it about the audience. Focus on the audience. Maybe you just want money right now, right? Maybe it's all about the revenue for you. If so, consider that. Consider that, you know, if you're not consistently growing that SEO, if you're not consistently putting out better quality content, you are going to fall off and the money's going to stop coming in. So, you know, whatever your driver is, find that and focus on that and let that be the thing that pushes you to keep doing more. Okay, so what's the best way to generate content for social media? Okay, so again, a couple of things here. Something that I have been doing recently religiously that has really helped is setting aside an hour, a full hour every morning and going on Quora, which is a forum if you don't know about it, or kind of big forum, just full of, you know, questions about different topics, different industries, going on Facebook groups like marketing groups, business groups, startup groups, etc., and answering questions, answering people's questions. There's a couple of things this does. One, it will help you build an organic audience over time. Can even help you get clients, but I wouldn't recommend doing it for that sole purpose to begin with. And three, it will give you incredible ideas and inspiration for content. You know, if you're really focused on giving someone value and you go into these forums or these groups and somebody's asking a question and you really give them your all, you know, whether it be shooting them a video response, whether it be just writing, you know, you set aside that hour to do this and only this, and you're committed to bringing them as much value as possible, you will end up with so much incredible content. You know, if you are an expert in your industry and, you know your stuff, bring people value. Do that every day for an hour each day. You will end up with so much content you honestly won't know what to do with it. You can repurpose that into blogs, you can repurpose it into videos, you can repurpose it into email sequences, you can repurpose it into snippets for social media. podcast episodes, all sorts, you know, like literally all sorts of stuff you can get from doing that. So that's one of the first things I'd say. The other one is collaborations again. Partnerships, collaborations. Make sure you're involving other people, you know, interview clients that you've had success with, interview people that, you know, maybe people that you're inspired by, people that are, you know, you'd consider your peer group, you know, get them involved and start some conversations that are going to bring value to your audience. But again, really, and I think this is kind of fundamental and foundational to any of these principles, it has to start with your audience, right? You have to know who your audience is and how you can best bring them value, and just try different things. You know, when it comes to creating content, try and don't be afraid to fail. Like, try as many different things as you possibly can and just have fun with it. You know, don't attach so much, you know, meaning to it, and just really try and have fun with the process, because it's any form of marketing, it's exactly the same thing. You are just never going to know. There are, you know, there are principles, there are fundamentals that you can take, and there are books you can read, courses you can do. You will never know how your particular individual audience is going to respond to a message you put out there. You just won't. You know, you can read every book under the sun, you can be as experienced as you want, you will never know. Again, there are some fundamental principles which, if you continue to apply, then you will, you know, in the long run inevitably do good. But it's important to remember that you can't know anything for sure. And in order to be successful with your marketing, you need to just continue to test things and to be willing to fail, most importantly. Right? Just try and try different things, and don't attach too much to it, because that's usually what happens to people is they will try something, they will fail, and then they will never do anything again. Or they will try and stay away and play it small, and you know, you end up going down this rabbit hole of smallness, and then nothing good's ever going to come from that. So constantly be pushing yourself, be pushing new limits, and really trying things, you know, differently, and doing whatever you can to, you know, just to mix things up. Hey Gavin, good to see you here, bud. Thanks for tuning in. So that's generating content for social media. Okay, so I've got another question here. What constitutes as a view on YouTube? Is it watching a full video or just clicking on it? So with YouTube, in terms of, okay, so one of the important things to note with YouTube, like coming back to the algorithm, is that the way it works is it's predominantly based on the watch time of your videos. And this is really important. And you might notice this with certain YouTubers where they say, you know, make sure you stick around to the end because we're going to be covering this, this, and this. The reason they do that is because they know watch time is that key metric. That is the engagement metric for YouTube that kind of shows them, okay, this is a good piece of content because people are sticking around and watching it. Because what very often happens with YouTube, right, if you watch a video and it ends up to be, you know, complete dog shit, you'll click off of it. You won't watch the whole way through. So, you know, really think about ways you can not only structure the message in a way that keeps it compelling for people and keeps them watching, but also to make sure that you're bringing people as much value as possible, right? And this is where, like, you know, again, like with clicks, that doesn't really mean anything. And actually it can go against you. If you're giving a, you know, this clickbait title, which sounds like amazing, and you're making these big promises in the title, and you've got a really fancy thumbnail that makes people click on it, and then it ends up being an absolute rubbish video, people are going to click off it. They will click on it and they will click straight off it. And that is going to do more harm than good. So, you know, if you are, again, title is important, thumbnails are important, but really make sure that you're actually delivering on what you're promising. That's key. And that's one of the key engagement metrics with YouTube is watch time. So really make sure you're doing everything you can to engage your audience, you know. And again, like similar things like we were talking about earlier, make sure you're asking questions of your audience. ask them to do things. You know, this is another thing that's really underestimated in marketing is people often assume it's, you know, it's obvious the action you want them to take, but it's not. It can make such a massive difference. And we've seen this time and time again with websites, where sometimes just having a very clear and concise call to action can make a huge difference. And, you know, sometimes literally like doubling the conversion rate you will get from your website just because you've said to someone, click the button below to book an appointment. It might seem obvious, right? It might seem obvious to everyone. Oh, there's a button here. It says book now. Tell them that's what you want them to do, right? It sounds crazy, but make sure you're, you know, really consistent in your communication. This is something I'm really bad at personally. You know, I'm very assumptive. I just assume people will know what to do. I just assume like, oh, you know, people are clever, they'll figure it out. And you know, it's Jane that always kicks me up the arse and says like, no, like you need to tell people, and it's so true. It makes a massive difference. So again, at the end of the video, say to people, you know, maybe you're making a video about, I don't know, music, for example. Say to people, hey, what's your favorite song? What's your favorite element in a piece of music? What makes the, you know, what gives you goosebumps when you're listening to a song? Ask them a question that's going to be really relevant to your audience, and one of those things that gets people excited and gets them passionate about it. Ask them to like it. If you liked it, make sure you give it a like. And the same with you guys as well. Before I forget, if you like this video, I see there's someone watching right now, make sure you like it, share it. I'd really appreciate it. I want to get as much reach on this as possible because I'm really keen to bring as much value to as many people as possible here. So like it, share it, comment it, engage. Again, if there's any suggestions or ideas or experiences that you have had, please feel free to put it in the comments because it's bound to help other people who are watching this. So make sure you like and share this, guys. But yeah, seriously, like it's really important that you know, especially when it comes to YouTube, that you're giving people those clear call to actions, asking people to subscribe, telling them to like, telling them to comment. So yeah, that's something to factor in. And in regards to clicking it, no, you want to make sure your delivery, clicking's important, but you need to make sure that they are sticking around because watch time is that key metric for YouTube. Okay, so I'm going to cover one more question here. I'm not sure how long we've been on the live for. I think about 40 minutes now. So I've got a question here. Where can you sell your creative work? So for all the creatives out there, this isn't my expert topic by any means. There are a few places that spring to mind. I guess it kind of depends, you know, creativity is a very broad subject. If you're talking about kind of arts and crafts, then there are websites like Etsy.com is the first one that springs to mind, which is a marketplace specifically for things like that, you know, handmade arts and crafts, that kind of thing. There's Gumroad.com, which is another one that I don't think many people know about. Very, very easy to sign up an account on there if you are a creative and just start selling your stuff, you know, super easily, all sorts of payment integrations, no coding or complex, none of that Shopify stuff. And it's completely free to get started on there with Gumroad actually, which is really cool. You get charged a transaction fee when you sell things. But other than that, that's it. So yeah, Etsy and Gumroad are the only ones I know really. But again, if you are somebody who is in that creative niche, feel free to jump in and comment with, you know, things that have helped you. But that's it, guys. So I'm going to wrap that up here for today. This may well start to become a more frequent thing. It depends on the demand we have, the questions we have for it. I would love to make this weekly. If you guys share this and you know, really get this out to as many people as possible, then hey, we may get to the stage where, you know, there becomes a need to do this weekly. I think that'd be awesome. I would love to, you know, really be jumping in and helping as many people as I possibly can. It may be monthly, I don't know yet. Very early days. This is the first one. I really acknowledge and thank you all for being here, everyone that's participated. Gavin, Ben, thanks for watching on Facebook. Apologies for my Instagram viewers. I haven't really been paying you much attention. I'm hoping for the next one, no, I'm not hoping. For the next one, I will be much more prepared. I think I'll probably jump onto like Vidyard or something and start kind of streaming across the business page, my personal page, and also some of the other channels as well, just so that gets out to more people. But I'm going to be uploading the replay to all channels anyway. So if you're watching, again, if you're watching live right now, make sure you comment below with #TeamLive to let me know you're watching live and where you're checking in from. And also, if you're watching the replay, comment below #TeamReplay. And again, let me know where you're checking in from, any suggestions or feedback that you can give to any of the questions that have come up. And also, let me know what you thought of it. Anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully be back with you all soon. And yeah, I'll speak to you guys soon.